What's up, guys? Thanks so much for stopping by the channel again. Today we are taking a look at another Thebes scenario. This is part 2 in our trilogy of their scenarios for SPQR. So thanks so much again for stopping by. This one is called Midnight Attack. So as you can already see from the deployment zone here, Thebes has a pretty generous deployment zone, and the defender's kind of boxed in a little bit. But let's get into it. Warbands, both players have the same denarii as is standard. Enemy players, once again, the defender, and the Thebans are the attacker. Once again, the defender will apparently deploy all their stuff first. The Theban player will deploy second, and then also get the first phase. So again, we've talked about this ad nauseum here as we sort of get towards the end of our series on the scenarios. But anytime the defender gets to set up first, it's just wonderful information for you as the attacker. You get to see what they've got, and especially with them being boxed in here, that will certainly limit some of their potential options depending on the army, and especially horde armies are always going to be a little bit hard pressed to pack all their stuff into smaller areas. And then you get to deploy how you need to. And you'll also get the first phase. And again, in a game where initiative actually matters in normal turns, if you can follow that up with winning the initiative maybe on turn 2 and 3, you can really use that to your advantage and sort of surround the defender and not give them as much a chance to sort of break out and deal with your approach. Special rules. There is a lot in this scenario, so let's read it. The defending player may select one of his units to act as sentries. The unit must be deployed as far as possible from the defending player's table edge. This unit may act normally in the first turn. So that's a sort of gray one too. So let's see, deployed as far as possible from the defending player's table edge. So they really should go and define as far as possible here. So, certainly shouldn't be in the attacker's deployment zone, and maybe even not even over the halfway point. But anyway, let's read the rest of it though. All other defending units are asleep or resting and may not perform any actions the first turn. And again, that's always rough, right? When you don't get to do anything turn 1. At the start of each of the defender's subsequent phases, roll a die for those units. Add 1 if the unit is a hero or is led by one, and an additional 1 for every turn after the second. If a unit rolls a total of 6 or more, it may start performing actions in that phase. Otherwise, the unit may do nothing as it scrabbles about in panic for weapons and armor. If such a unit is engaged in close combat, it will obviously defend itself. All units in both warbands will be hampered by night. No unit may perform any kind of attack more than 12 inches away at the start of a phase. A unit, for example, can't move into 12 within the first action and then attack with bows because it's technically more than 12 inches that way. So it makes sense. So typical night fighting rules that the game employs, which is fine and fair. And then victory basically is, again, another one where you just kill them all. But again, fancy setup for that. So this one can be potentially rough if you're just not rolling hot as the defender. The Thebans will be on you. Now, obviously, you'll defend yourself if engaged in combat. But, ideally, you probably want to get moved and kind of get some sort of battle line or just move out from that little boxed-in defending zone there. It is a little bit weird. They probably could have done more with that sentry unit here, just to add more to that. But again, it's fine. But again, that unit, you probably don't want to get that too far away from your defending zone, just because the Thebans will probably just swarm that and annihilate it if it's left out too far to dangle. That being said, if it's something like maybe a cavalry unit as your sentry, you could certainly maybe try and kite the Thebans away from that if it's maybe a more inexperienced player who would swallow the bait. But really, the Thebans should be rushing to get to the defenders, keep them from basically deploying, and then just overwhelm them there. But that being said, it might be worth letting them move a little bit or waiting just to sort of individually carve up pieces of the defending army. If they're all kind of together and they're all getting engaged, then it's essentially just a straight up fight at that point. But basically, they're going to be fighting on every front. And if they're that far by their table edge, if they do retreat, then they may end up, of course, running off, which obviously will help you get towards victory there. But overall, pretty cool scenario. The night fighting certainly helps add a little bit of balance there. But that being said, if you as the defender can at least get your units up and awake and maybe moving, you at least can kind of get a plan together. Obviously, missile fire is going to be largely ineffective here, but this will be a scenario where like the javelin will come into its own, certainly, or other things that are short ranged will be very deadly fighting there. So overall, pretty cool. I, again, probably just would have liked to see a little bit more with the sentry unit there, but let us know in the comments, guys. What do you think about this scenario? Again, so far, basically the first two missions for the Thebans have been kind of kill 'em all missions, but with some very fancy sort of setup to it, which is always cool to see, instead of just a plain old straight up fight. Again, have you played with the Thebans or against them in this? What are your thoughts? Have you tried this with different factions? Let us know in the comments, guys. Thanks so much for stopping by, and hope you have a good one. We'll see you in the next one.